Welcome to the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, and with me is Tyler Kamstra.
Hi, everybody.
And Ash Eli.
What's up? I was going to say something clever, but I was distracted by the chat. So I'm just going to say, what's up?
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Ash, what I'm going to need you to do tonight, I need
Focus.
you...
Be professional.
Yeah. No, beyond that. So the chat is now in your laptop. We're going to pick up your laptop and we're going to travel together to a volcano. And then we're going to throw the laptop into the volcano because the world can never know what contents were just typed into your chat window.
Oh, Randall, I can't do this, Randall. I can't make it to the top.
Oh.
Can you carry? You can't carry the laptop, but you can carry me.
That was my line.
I don't know how much do you weigh. A laptop is a lot smaller.
Well, you weren't saying it. I
was about to. I was letting it.
Oh, okay.
We were doing a bit. We were doing.
Let me start over. Let me tee you in, okay? I can't do this anymore, Randall. I can't
carry the laptop for you, sir. But I can carry.
Music swells.
This got weird
beautiful.
Very quickly.
It was great. I don't know what you're talking about. Anytime that we can make Tyler uncomfortable is a job well done, I believe.
It takes so little.
Like 90% of my effort.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, what is happening?
All right. Well, tonight we're going to talk about MacGuffins and plot devices. And yes, we're going to distinguish between the two because they are different. You may think of the MacGuffin as that thing that everyone wants. And we're gonna dig into, what those are, what makes a MacGuffin, what makes that thing into a plot device instead of a MacGuffin, and how we can make those cool and interesting in your games.
All right, so I'm going to generally make the argument. All MacGuffins are plot devices. Not all plot devices are MacGuffins. And then we're going to try to define both. Is anybody going to stab me for that?
Nope, that's correct.
Yeah.
All right, 1 for 1. Okay, good. Doing great. Okay, so a plot device. A plot device is an object that moves the story forward.
Yeah.
Could be a person, still moves the story forward.
Yeah. An example would be a car in a heist that's like crucial for a part of the plan or something. That's a plot device. It's not a thing everybody wants, but it is necessary for the heist. So plot devices can be both very impactful for the plot and just kind of a piece of it. That's why when someone says plot device, they don't immediately mean MacGuffin. It can be a broad range of different things.
Let's define what we mean by MacGuffin then. And I'm going to borrow, and I think we can add to this, right? But TV Tropes gives us 2 questions to answer. And if you say yes to both these things, congratulations, you got yourselves a MacGuffin. Is the nature of the item or the item itself interchangeable? Does it actually matter what the item is? So we're doing a heist. We're going to break into this place and we're going to steal something. What's the thing we're going to steal? It probably doesn't matter. Maybe it's a gem, a priceless painting, a magical artifact. Maybe we're getting a prisoner out of prison. Maybe we're getting a prisoner out of a museum. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Unless the heist is to find a specific tablet or something that is a key to the Vault of Magnificent Treasures, a la something like Uncharted or Indiana Jones. In that case, that is a MacGuffin, not a plot device. I mean, it is a plot device, but it's also MacGuffin because that is a specific need that you need. It's not interchangeable. You can say that they're going to steal something and it doesn't matter what, but if it doesn't matter, then how do they get into the Temple of Secrets or whatever? So the MacGuffin is something that both the heroes and the villains want.
If we change the shape of the MacGuffin, does that count as changing the nature? Like your Uncharted example, if it's stick in a lock and turn it kind of key, or if it's like a rock that you put on a pedestal that serves as a key, does that count as changing the nature of the device?
No, it does not. Essentially, it can be whatever form you want. It could even be a person. If that person acts as a key to unlock a thing, that is a MacGuffin because it is necessary for what the ultimate goal of the plot for both heroes and villains are.
And so I'll make an argument that there's kind of a gradient between clear MacGuffin and just a regular plot device. Because if let's say it's a character, but that character also drives a lot of the other plot, that character also drives a lot of the interaction. But realistically, we could have had a potato instead of that character at the very end, and we still could have actually resolved whatever thing we were trying to resolve. Maybe they're a plot device. Maybe they're less of a MacGuffin, I think.
As with anything in media, it's not like this is the line and there the two shall meet. It is very much a gradient, as Randall said. But a good rule of thumb is if the heist, let's say, or the operation is in service to the character, like the heist is bringing something out in the characters, and that's the point of it. And it really doesn't matter what the object is, because what the point of the heist is to learn more about the characters in a specific job. Then whatever they're getting doesn't matter, and therefore can't be a MacGuffin. If, however, the point is not to learn more about these characters, I mean, that might be a side benefit, but the point is to move the story along because we have this gate and we need this key in order to unlock the next gate, then it becomes a MacGuffin. So the clearest distinction I can point to a MacGuffin is if an object is secondary to character development, then it's not a MacGuffin. If it is essential to the plot, then it is a MacGuffin.
So it's interesting you're saying that, because that actually is counter to the TV tropes argument. So, and I'm going to get to the second question for TV tropes. The second question TV tropes asks, is the nature of the item irrelevant to the plot? So they would make the argument that if it's irrelevant to the plot, if, like you said, this is about character development, it doesn't matter what we're stealing as part of the heist, because really what we want to learn about is the relationship between Catherine Zeta-Jones and Tom Cruise in this particular event, then the item they stole is a MacGuffin. It doesn't really matter what it was. TV tropes would then argue that vice versa, if it was like something critically involved in the actual plot of the story and advanced it, like maybe it's what they were stealing from the museum was I don't know, the menu from their first date. Museums are weird. I've never been to one.
What?
Well,
what?
Okay, so I think we're butting up on different sort of separate but equal sort of definitions. That's strange to me that TV tropes would say that something that is irrelevant to the plot is MacGuffin. That is strictly against the definition of what a MacGuffin is.
The nature, just the nature of the item. Like, so it doesn't matter to the plot that the thing is a painting versus a gem versus a bag of money. Like the item itself matters to the plot, just the nature. Yeah.
Right. I understand. So the nature, like we said, essentially MacGuffins at their very basic form act as keys. They're keys to the plot. It doesn't necessarily have to be a door that you're unlocking. It doesn't necessarily have to be a key, but it serves the same basic function in terms of how the plot is written and how the plot moves. So what it is doesn't matter. Like we said before, a person can be a MacGuffin. As long as the only value that they have to the story is as a key to the plot, then that's a MacGuffin. And it's one of the reasons why people sometimes criticize flat characters as MacGuffins. But you can still also have a character that's well written and still essentially be a MacGuffin because they're like keys to the plot. An example would be, what's her name? The red-haired girl from Fifth Element that everybody is trying to capture.
Lilu Dallas Multipass?
Yeah. Lilu, I think is her name.
Yeah, Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Yeah, she's definitely like a character. Like she has a defined character. I wouldn't say it's an amazing one, but she does have a character. But she is, for all intents and purposes, a MacGuffin. Everybody needs and wants her, and that's what the whole plot centers around.
Well, and to add to that even more, like the four stones they're going after at the same time that they're like moving her along, 100% a MacGuffin. And they're more MacGuffin than she's MacGuffin because we said that we were going to accept gradients.
Yeah. And
you can have multiple MacGuffins in the same story. It doesn't have to be one MacGuffin to rule them all. It can be multiple. As long
we're going to get to that.
Yeah. As long as the classic example of a MacGuffin is the One Ring. But there were multiple MacGuffins in Lord of the Rings as well.
Okay, so we're talking about plot devices and MacGuffins, and I think it's worth setting the stage. Why are we talking about that on our TTRPG podcast? The reason is because they're really powerful storytelling devices. We all know the very cliche, like we start at a tavern, a fight breaks out, somebody approaches after the fight and says, well, you seem like you could handle yourself. Maybe I give you a quest. And then maybe we take the quest, maybe we don't. Maybe we look at it and say, that seems like somebody else's problem. We're going to go over here because we really want to go into this mine because mines are like dungeons and we love dungeons. I'm saying this to say the idea of instead dropping an item, dropping a letter, dropping a person in the party's lap and saying, here, deal with this. It's another way of doing great storytelling. And so what we wanted to do tonight, we want to walk through plot devices. We want to walk through the idea of a MacGuffin. I want us to have a conversation. Basically, are MacGuffins bad things in storytelling? Don't answer that yet. We'll get to it. It's coming. And then let's actually break into how can we use plot devices and maybe MacGuffins to put together great D&D one-shots, story arcs, or campaigns.
Well, I just want to say as a disclaimer, and TV Tropes puts this in big letters on their website, always remember that tropes are tools. It doesn't necessarily make them good or bad. The only thing is how you use them. So when Randall says, are MacGuffins bad? MacGuffins are bad when they're written poorly, but in and of themselves are not bad. There are a lot of really great, powerful, classic stories have been written with MacGuffins, aka The Lord of the Rings. Some really bad stories have also been written with MacGuffins. So it really just kind of depends on how you use it.
I think it'd be fun. Let's actually walk through and talk about a few examples of plot devices in media. And basically, I want to fight the two of you over whether or not these things are MacGuffins or just regular old plot devices.
Sure.
Does that sound like a good time?
Boxing gloves are on.
Okay. Speaking of boxing gloves, and I'm glad you brought us to it, the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Love that movie.
MacGuffin or plot device? Or plain old plot device?
This is a tough one. I would say it's definitely a plot device. Whether it's a MacGuffin or not, I'm not sure. Because while several different parties want the briefcase is kind of secondary to the plot. And the ultimate reveal of the story is that it ultimately doesn't matter what the briefcase is or what's in it. And so I would argue that the briefcase is kind of a deconstruction of a MacGuffin. Because while everybody wants it, nobody knows why they want it. And nobody has a clear plan of what to do with it once they have it, and then ultimately it's revealed to be essentially meaningless to the plot.
Okay, I'm going to push back a little bit. I feel like the people who look at the item know what it is. No, it's like, hey, are we happy? Are we happy? Yeah, we're happy, right? Like they know what they're looking at. They know it's like, does it look like a light bulb?
Right.
Why'd you try to screw it like a light bulb? Anyway. It does have value. It is 100% a plot device driving the story forward. I'm going to argue it's the ultimate MacGuffin because as the audience, we literally never know what is in the chest. And it doesn't matter. It could have been gold. It could have been cash. Could have been the marriage certificate. It could have been a cool briefcase where when you open it, a light bulb turns on. All we know is people died over it.
It could have been a duffel bag.
Yeah, no. And in that case, that's why I'm saying, like, I think it could definitely be classified as a MacGuffin, but what I'm saying is that I think that its ultimate purpose is a deconstruction of MacGuffins, because
that's fair.
There's no real resolution with that MacGuffin. It just kind of stops mattering after a while because it stops mattering for the character of Jules. As an audience, the MacGuffin also has to matter to the audience as much as it does the characters. And for us, we want to know what's in the briefcase, but we never get that satisfaction. And that's kind of where Quentin Tarantino kind of deconstructs the whole MacGuffin, because the whole point of a MacGuffin is we ultimately get that resolution, but we're denied that.
I mean, I think a critical part of the MacGuffin idea, though, is that it matters to the characters in the story way more than the audience. Like the audience doesn't care about the thing. The audience cares about the characters. And because the characters care about the thing, the audience kind of cares about it. What's weird here, and it's worth calling out when we talk about tabletop games, the characters are the players, or at least they're the personification of the characters in game. And maybe you're pretending to be somebody else. But realistically, it's very similar to the way movies, shows, and theater play themselves, that the characters on stage, the PCs, probably care about this thing more than the actual players do. All right, I'm going to go to another example. I think we're allowed to disagree. We're gonna have to, because that's.
I just wanted to wrap this up. I just want to say you picked the toughest example to start us off.
I thought it was going to be easy. I thought we were all going to say 100% it's a MacGuffin.
The thing about Quentin Tarantino movies is nothing is easy. Everything is more complex than you think it is. And we could do a whole podcast on just Pulp Fiction.
Okay. All right, let's do one that I thought would be a little hard, and let's see where we get. The One Ring.
Absolutely.
Certainly a plot device. Is it a MacGuffin?
No.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That one, I don't feel any gray area. Interesting.
Well,
you
Tyler,
don't think
you said
so?
no?
Okay. So the nature of the ring is central to the plot. It's important because of what it is. I mean, you could change the physical nature of the thing. It could be a necklace, it could be a glove, it could be a top hat. I don't care. But the nature of the One Ring is it's the thing that Sauron created and poured a ton of his power into. If he gets it back, takes over the world. So like the nature of the One Ring is central to the plot of Lord of the Rings, of Middle Earth, for like everything leading up to the end of Lord of the Rings. So I disagree that it's a MacGuffin.
Right.
Like I'd say that's a plot device.
I got my pushback. Ash, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't think you understand what a MacGuffin is.
Probably not.
You just described exactly. You just described exactly what a MacGuffin is. It's something that is central to the plot, that both sides are fighting over. It can be magical. Ultimately, would it have mattered if Sauron had made a magic scepter that everybody was fighting over, or a magic helm, or a magic person who they had to burn in in the Mountain of Doom? It wouldn't have mattered. Like the nature of it. I think your argument is that because it's such an important object, it can't be a MacGuffin. MacGuffins aren't irrelevant. Their nature is irrelevant, but they are crucial to the plot. They are drive the plot forward. Just like how sometimes in character-driven narratives, the characters in a conflict is the thing that drives the plot forward. In MacGuffin-focused narratives like The Lord of the Rings, the MacGuffin itself is what drives the plot forward, not necessarily character development, but the plot forward. Ultimately, the nature of the ring, like what it physically is, doesn't matter because it's important as long as its importance remains the same in whatever way you choose to depict it. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm actually going to disagree with both of you, though, at the same time. All right. Tyler, I do think it's a MacGuffin because its nature as a thing that if Sauron were to acquire, he would dominate the world and effectively the world for good would be over, never manifest. It's just the threat. And so the same way that you're arguing it could have been a scepter, a top hat, it could have been a pipe, it could have been, like a hobbit that another hobbit carries around, like whatever, could have been any of these things. The threat could have been something different as well. If this item is brought into the wrong place, and there is a person who wants to bring it into the wrong place, it will cause a tidal wave to sweep over the lands and wipe away all of society, and all folks will die.
Okay.
That's an equally threatening nature. It still would have led the group to want to destroy it. The idea that it was Sauron and that Sauron's evilness was in it, I think hardly ever mattered because we never saw it manifest.
Okay, so if we change the effect of the ring falling into the wrong hands, doesn't that completely change the plot of the story then? Changing that nature of the object completely rearranges the story. If it's some other threat, you're looking at a different story now.
I think I disagree a little bit. And here's why I disagree. I think you could have written the same narrative of the Fellowship, of people chasing them. All of the same events might have happened. The underlying motivation that came out every 50,000 words would be different. But I think literally you could have told the exact same story with the underlying motivation having changed.
Okay.
Again, this goes back to what, like Randall said, like it could be a top hat, pipe, whatever. As a good way to think about a MacGuffin is, this just helps me. This isn't always the case, but this is usually the case. If the heroes want a specific object, but the antagonists don't care about it, that is not a MacGuffin. If the antagonists want something, but the heroes don't care about it, that can be a MacGuffin, but usually isn't. If both parties want the MacGuffin and that is like their entire goal, that is a MacGuffin. That is by definition what the MacGuffin is when two opposing sides or multiple parties want the same object for different goals and ambitions. That's a MacGuffin. So yeah, going back to our Pulp Fiction example, if you think that the briefcase is a MacGuffin, then you also have to think that the ring is a MacGuffin, because they have the same purpose to the plot. One is a deconstruction, one is played straight.
Which, granted, like Tolkien, he lost out on 100 years of literature and film.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't get to the point where we had to do.
It's why we're talking about MacGuffins in the first place, because the seminal work that codified pretty much all of the fantasy tropes that we're familiar with, including the ones in D&D, was a MacGuffin quest. So these things go hand in hand when we're talking about D&D.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, I want to give one more example. Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I want to throw on what I think might be a good distinguisher between what we're calling MacGuffins versus plot devices. So I think the distinction I'm seeing is the object in question is an object of desire for some subset of the characters in the story. And then the distinction between a MacGuffin as a plot and a plot device is what the plan is to do with it. Like, if I want this thing, like if that is the entire thing, that is a MacGuffin. If it's I want this thing so that I can do X as part of the plot, that is not a MacGuffin. Does that ring true? Does that sound reasonable?
I don't think so.
It's not always true,
No.
but here's what I would say. If the story would end when one side has complete uncontested control of the object in question, then that is a MacGuffin. Like if the story is over, either the heroes defeat the villain and hold on to the MacGuffin, or they destroy it, then the story is over. That's a MacGuffin. If on the flip side, if the villain were to take the object and they would win and the story would essentially be over, that is also a MacGuffin. So yeah,
I want to amend what you say slightly. Like it could just be that a story beat is over, the arc is over.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had this plot device. It was a MacGuffin because the whole point of the MacGuffin was to get us to fly from the U.S. to Europe. And now that we're in Europe, the rest of the story can play out.
Right, exactly. But like going back to my Uncharted example, let's say the heroes don't get the key to the temple. The villains get the key to the temple. That's essentially that's the bad ending of the story. Now, that doesn't mean the story is completely over. Like Brandel said, that's the end of a beat of a story. Maybe the heroes find another way into the temple. But even so, the villains getting that key caused the end of the first arc or story. So it ended the story that was being told, essentially. I realize we're dealing with a lot of gray area. That's just kind of what you have to do when you're talking about tropes like this.
Well, no, I'm having a lot of fun. I hope people at home are having a lot of fun.
I hope this isn't confusing for anyone. At the end of the day, like I said, tropes are tools. And it's like genre. We could fight all day about what movies like in which genre, stuff like that. At the end of the day, these are just terms that help us as writers and critics identify the building blocks of a story. So whether something is or isn't a MacGuffin ultimately doesn't matter. The only way that it matters is how it helps us understand the story better.
Okay, I have one more example, and then let's start talking about MacGuffins and TTRPGs.
Sure.
We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
MacGuffin.
100% MacGuffin.
It could have been a napkin that someone blew their nose, and yeah, it doesn't matter that it's actually the Declaration of Independence. I feel like they chose that just
could be anything. It could be the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
100%. And for folks maybe who haven't seen the National Treasure in, I don't know, like the 15 or 20 years since it came out, probably longer, and that's going to make me sad if it's true. Spoilers, yes, for a 80-year-old movie at this point.
That's not really spoilers. Like they say that at the beginning of the movie, essentially.
Yeah,
like,
it's in the trailer. Nick Cage being up there crazy.
It's in the description. So
the premise is basically they realize that there is a secret map to some untold treasure on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Some baddies are going to steal it, and so Nick Cage and his lovable gang are like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to steal it first. Which, by the way, I think is an awesome storytelling device. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But okay, we all agreed, MacGuffin.
You know, they made a
MacGuffin.
TV show on Disney Plus recently from National Treasure.
Why?
Yep.
Why? Good God.
The search for more money.
Show notes are
I
going
don't know. It did not go over well. It got canceled real quick. So
good.
Okay. I loved the first movie. I'm not ashamed to say it. Okay. Plot devices and MacGuffins in my TTRPG?
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah, and let's ask, like, do we want MacGuffins in our storytelling? Should we find a way to make them plot devices and have them like intricately woven to everything we're doing? I feel like I'm leading to an answer with all this, but yeah, what do you folks think?
Yeah, I see no problem with having MacGuffins in your tier, especially if you don't know a hook for your players to like really get on board with the story you're trying to tell. A MacGuffin is always a great way to do it. Again, tropes are tools, so just make sure that whatever you're doing, how you present the MacGuffin is more important than what the MacGuffin is. Because at the end of the day, its nature doesn't really matter as long as it still serves its purpose. It could be a briefcase, it could be a wand, it could be the hand of Orcus, it could be anything. But at the end of the day, you have to give your players reasons to care. Because if they don't care about the MacGuffin, then your story is dead in the water. But that is also true of any story.
I agree with that. Like, I actually don't want to add anything to that. I think that's perfectly said.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it is worth talking about, like, what are some reasons that MacGuffins can suck for players? Because I think if we avoid these things, we're going to be better off for it. The example that I want to lead off with is like this, omnipotent item can solve all the problems or can cause all the problems for that matter that the players have come into contact with that they literally can't use. It does them no good. All they can do is carry this thing from point A to point B and wonder why it makes everybody cooler, but then not them. An example I'll give is like, imagine you're writing a story and you're like, okay, I'm going to take the 5e wand of Orcus for my level 4 party, and I'm going to give it to them as a plot device and probably just a MacGuffin of, I need you to get this out of town before the cult gets it. Okay. DC 17 con save to not die and become a zombie if you attempt to attune to it. Cool artifact. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, one of the first games I ever ran to full completion, and I've talked about it before, was a MacGuffin quest. That was the whole thing. It was even, the campaign was even named after the MacGuffin in question, the Wadget's Eye. The entire point was this was a very powerful artifact that helped separate the divine from humanity, and it was something that the bad guys wanted so that they could come back to the world and destroy everything, and the players needed to gather it, and it gave them magical power. It wasn't just like, oh, it's just a cool little amulet that you have over your chest. No, there are 3 different pieces and they all had different powers. And a cool thing you can do, especially with magical MacGuffins, is make those powers get better as your players advance. A good example of this would be in Matt Mercer's Tal'Dorei setting. He put these magical items called Vestiges of Divergence. And he basically made all of these, like the arcs to get these were essentially MacGuffins. And you could do an entire campaign just focused on one of these items because they all have a unique history. They all upgrade at certain levels or through certain like player story milestones, whatever you choose, and they get more powerful. And yeah, it's just really cool to find this awesome, powerful object that you can use to slay the bad guy with. I would say the trap, one of the ways that I've seen MacGuffins really turn against players and DMs is the surprise MacGuffin. That can be like, we thought our mission was this, but suddenly it turns into, oh, we have to get the 7 pieces of Akroth before we can kill the guy we want to kill. And then they get all of those. They're like, oh, in order to combine the pieces of Akroth, we need to find 18 more pieces of Shebeth and put them together. And it's just like, at a certain point, it just feels like you're doing chores. And if you're going to have like multi-MacGuffin campaigns, you want to make sure that you keep it limited so that the players don't feel like their time is being wasted. And ideally, you want to give players clues as to what the MacGuffin is that they need and arrive at the conclusion that they need to get those themselves, rather than saying, oh no, roadblock from the cool thing you want. You're going to have to go fetch the MacGuffin. See you never. People don't like that.
Perfect.
There's one guard standing between you and where you want to go. They're unarmed. You're a heavily armed super soldier, but they're doing this thing where they keep moving side to side so you can't get past. It's like a video game. It's infuriating. Got to get the MacGuffin to get past.
Yeah, you need the sword of stabbing to the right in order to kill them.
Yeah, I'm laughing at the idea of this like MacGuffin inception of like, yeah, just we're 14 layers deep in the tree, but once I get, this chessboard put together with all the pieces put back in the right place, I'm finally going to get the thing that I need. Yeah. I know that's not inception, but it's fine. You understood.
Close enough. Nesting.
Okay, so the first problem. Yeah. The first problem we described is like it's the super powerful item, but the party can't benefit from it, and so it just kind of feels like it sucks. Like I don't even want this thing anyway. Ash, I think you offer a great cure. Basically, make it matter. Make it something that gives power to the party. That leads to something I want to highlight maybe more generally that is going to be different in our TTRPGs, especially in 5e where money doesn't matter, than general storytelling that we listen to, like media we consume every day. Oftentimes, the MacGuffin is going to carry intrinsic value. It will have the power to make somebody wealthy. The value is typically tied to capital. In our fantasy world, often power is either in ruling, like somebody will be placed in charge, probably magically, or power is going to come from the magic itself. And so keeping that in mind that like money basically can't buy this, because if I have this thing, then I can control a whole country, or I will be powerful enough that I can do whatever I want. And then if I want money, I'll get money, but I probably won't need money because I got the MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're dealing with MacGuffins and TTRPGs, my advice is pretty much always have the MacGuffin either be important to a player character story, like maybe the MacGuffin is a relative of a player character, like have an emotional core to it, or give them power, like Randall said. I don't think you want to give the players, this is the vase. This is the vase, and it's what you need to do something with. And it's an ordinary vase. The only thing is it breaks really easily, so I'm going to roll every time you're in combat to see if it breaks. And if it breaks, you lose and the campaign's over. Stuff like that.
God, that's awful.
That's not fun. I mean, that's a really extreme example, but even just like having a mundane object that grants the players no power, they're going to forget about it, first off. And secondly, if they're forced to focus all their effort on the seemingly insignificant object because it's what progresses the story, the players are going to hate that object. It's like the problem with escort missions. I am doing all of my energy for this useless piece of metal that does nothing for me. But that's why, especially, it's not true in all media, but in D&D campaigns, more oftentimes than not, have the player characters have an emotional resonance with the object or give them power in some way.
Okay, counterpoint. What if they need to give up the object when they've done the quest? Like they finished the arc of the plot, they gave up the crown of such and such. Like, okay, we have to deliver the crown of such and such to the rightful prince because we know he's a cool dude. And if somebody else gets it, they're going to take over the throne and be a less of a cool dude. But the crown gives me like +4 charisma. So it's like, what if I just toppled the government instead of giving up the MacGuffin?
I would say if that's where your players want to take the campaign, like maybe let them have that fun, but make it really hard. And if you really don't want to go that direction, it's basically say like, this isn't going to work for you, but if we want to start rolling dice, we can. I actually think that's a good thing. It's a wonderful opportunity to give out an OP item, let folks have a little bit of fun, but make it very clear up front, in-game, out of game, through text message, airplane flying over their home. You can't keep the item at the end of this arc. Don't get your hopes up. We're not working our way around this. Have some fun. It's going to end.
I think, and this is going to sound very simplistic and maybe a little bit irritating, but it's true. Speaking as someone who's done a MacGuffin quest before, give players a compelling enough reason to give it away. That can sound like a no-brainer, but it's not as easy as it seems. But if you can find a way to do that, then it works really well. So I'll give an example in the Wadjet Eye game that I ran. So at the end of the day, they beat the main big bad in the void. and they're presented with a choice. They have the 3 pieces of the Wadjet Eye. Now, they could destroy the Wadjet Eye pieces, which I gave them like 3 choices. They could destroy the Wadjet Eye pieces, which would essentially kill all the gods, and there could be chaos and stuff everywhere. Magic would come back into the world, but it would be unregulated because it was started as a low fantasy setting, and then magic was slowly coming back into the world. But the reason why magic was cut off from humanity in the first place was because something bad happened due to unregulated magic. So it's essentially like we're going full anarchy if we destroy the pieces. They could also keep the pieces or hide them in separate areas, basically maintaining the status quo. What magic there was in the world seeps back out. The gods are still in power. Everything stays the same. Or they could combine the pieces and pick someone to be the one singular god of the world. All the other gods would be banished or killed, and they would have control over magic, but they would be able to allow that magic to come back in if they wanted to and regulate it. So the players didn't even consider keeping the pieces, because keeping the pieces was pretty obviously the worst option. It was the worst outcome, because not only would they still have to deal with the status quo that I had basically taught them to hate from day one. Like, they hated all the gods. All the gods were kind of jerks. So basically they're like, we don't want the gods still in power. The status quo kind of sucks. The world is kind of in a bad way, and it would basically render our entire journey pointless. Yeah, we'd have some power, but the rest of the world would still suck. So it came down to those last 2 choices, and they ultimately decided to go with the one true god. They didn't pick one of their number, which I thought they were going to do. No, they were like, there's this one god who we really like. We think she should be in charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the adopted NPC in the party?
Nope. They did
we're
pick
gonna make
the
our
best
donkey
option,
god.
in my opinion. But I didn't like set that in stone where it's just like, I'm going to give you guys a bad ending if you keep it. I just presented them with the information they had and made it make sense in the world, not in a way that made it seem like I was intentionally trying to say, I don't want you to keep it. I was like, look, you can keep it if you want to. This is just what's going to happen, because this is how the rules of the universe work. And everything that you have learned over the course of your journey shows to you that through your own opinions in your own mind that this is the worst option. So I'm not saying it's easy, but nothing in story writing is easy. Sorry. I know that was kind of a downer.
No, hey, there's easy parts of story writing. There's the one thing.
Coming up with no, actually, that's the worst.
No, nothing about story writing is ever easy, except maybe you all meet in a tavern, which is such a tired cliche. Please don't start your campaigns that way. I'm sorry. unless you were doing something really interesting.
We all work in a tavern.
Yeah,
and
that
it
would work.
These adventurers suck. Okay, just as long as we're flipping it on its head. Okay. Actually, that's a great segue. Now that we've established that storytelling sucks and it's really hard to build a good story, let's talk through how we build a story around a MacGuffin. So there are 2 questions that I'm going to offer that I think that we have to answer, and then let's talk through these things. If we want to add anything to it, we can. The first question: who wants the MacGuffin and why? These are our NPCs. This potentially is going to help us define the set pieces, but ultimately, these are going to be the components we use to build the story. Who wants it? And maybe secondary to the who, why? The second question is a little bit more complicated, but it sums up a lot of things that matter in different versions of the MacGuffin story. When does the world become safe again?
Oh, interesting.
Let's start there, because I think it's the spicy one. I'm going to give some examples of like what I mean by this. When does the world become safe again? Ash, you hinted at earlier. If I kill the people who want it, or if I have them jailed, if for whatever reason they're moved out of the picture, does that make the world safe again? Or will another group just come calling trying to get the item? Do I have to travel? Do I have to bring the thing to a special place so it can be destroyed, used in a ritual, hidden for all eternity, or at least until like my grandkids are old? Do I just have to like cross a national border and deliver it to a more powerful organization than myself? Like, is it just as soon as I get out of Canada and back into the US, these cheeseburgers, I don't know, whatever. we haven't talked about this kind of story, but it is interesting. I guess maybe the National Treasure is an example of this. If the real MacGuffin is information. So in National Treasure, it's a secret map. Maybe it's evidence that the true heir to the kingdom actually like runs the tannery down the street away, from the castle. And if we just present this evidence, that person's going to be made king, whatever it is the world safe again as soon as the truth is revealed to the right people with sufficient evidence?
All right. So who wants it and why? When does the world become safe again? Okay. So yeah, let's look at some examples of the MacGuffins that we looked at earlier. So the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, who wants it and why? Everybody. I don't think they ever really established why, just people want it, right?
Yeah.
Marcellus Wallace wants it.
This goes back to the deconstruction, and the other way that it's deconstructed, and kind of the whole point of the briefcase, where you say, at what point does the world become safe with this MacGuffin? When has the feuding parties won? And the answer to that question is never. That's never going to happen. It's pretty clear is that people are going to continue fighting over this briefcase, and they won't know why, really. And there's not a state where anybody essentially wins until everybody's essentially dead.
Well, so Marcellus Wallace and what was Bruce Willis's character's name?
I don't
remember. Butch.
Just call him Bruce Willis.
It was Butch. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, Marcellus Wallace and Butch basically make peace. It's like, I know we had beef and we had problems, but based on what we just went through, we're cool.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the briefcase.
It was throw in the fight. Yeah, you're right. Okay,
yeah,
that's right. You're right.
Butch's whole arc had nothing to do at all with the briefcase.
Yeah. But doesn't he find it when Vincent, when he kills Vincent, he finds the briefcase and takes it with him?
Yeah, he does, and that's why that again, a deconstruction. Him find it, like so many people wanted it. He didn't even know this was a thing, and he just takes it, and that's like it's incidental. It's completely incidental to his plot. He does it's not crucial to his plot, and that's what makes it a very solid deconstruction of MacGuffins in general.
Okay, so maybe I'm going to make an argument. What made the world safe again is that Vincent is dead. Jules gave up on the life and kind of walked away from everything. And nobody knows Butch has the briefcase. So sure, Marcellus Wallace might want it, but because nobody knows that he's the person who had it, and he kind of had permission to get out of town and get out of the way.
But you see,
probably the world's safe again. I don't want to see Pulp Fiction 2. Quentin, don't do it.
You see how many circumstantial stuff had to happen in order for us to achieve that end. And it had nothing to do with the main players that were operating to try to gain control of the MacGuffin. So if the MacGuffin had stayed in the plot with which it was relevant, that conflict never would have ended. It only ended when a third party who had nothing to do with it came in and took it away. That's how it ended.
Okay. Beautiful and perfect. And yes, it's a very complex story and it's really good. Lord of the Rings. Let's go Lord of the Rings. That's easy.
Sure.
The ring is destroyed. Sauron is then killed because he's rendered mortal. Everybody's happy. Like that. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the world becomes safe
Simple
when the ring is
effective.
destroyed. Yeah.
And who wants it? Well, Sauron and his armies obviously want it.
Mm-hmm.
Some good aligned folks want it because they think they could use it to protect themselves.
Use it as a weapon.
Yeah. People will want it for the power. And the Boromir answer.
People have said that the ring is an analogy is a analogy for nuclear weapons, which I don't really buy, but I could see it.
I thought it had been written before the nukes were dropped. Now I need to go check.
No, I believe it was written during the 40s, but I could be wrong.
Tolkien served in World War
that.
I. Shoot, we need to check.
But his son served in World War II.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think serving in the war wouldn't have
Yeah. Well, you can also make more nukes. You can't make more of the One Ring.
Mm-hmm.
But once its power is released and people, let's not torture the analogy. Okay. Declaration of Independence. Once again, Sean Bean is the person who thinks that it is.
Did you say
it's going to give him
Sean Bean?
Yeah, Sean Bean. It's Seanbean, so it should either be Sean Bean or Sean Bon, but here we are.
Scene Bean. All right, sure.
English is weird, okay?
Really is.
But yeah, so he was Boromir. He was also the bad guy in National Treasure who wanted to steal the map.
Did he die in that too?
Yeah, and he dies because Sean Bean dies in every. Yeah, he dies in every movie, man.
It's kind of his
Every
thing.
single movie. That's like what he's.
I think
that's,
there's like one where he didn't, and it was weird.
There's like there's like one or two where he doesn't, but it's like the rule of Tom Cruise will always run his movies, and Tom Hanks will always make us watch him pee. That's just a thing that for some reason actors.
Wait,
is that
what?
a thing?
You didn't know this?
Oh,
Yeah, you didn't know this?
What actor did you say?
Literally every Tom Hanks movie almost pretty much every Tom Hanks movie that he's in has some sort of impactful character moment having to deal with urination. So, League of Their Own. He is introduced to the girls as a coach.
Yeah.
He goes and pees loudly. In Green Mile,
In Long
the whole story is based on that his character has pain when he pees, and the climax of the movie is, I forget his name, the black character healing him and him having a very long, uncomfortable like scene of him having an orgasm while he pees. In Money Pit, I think it's called Money Pit. He is in a fountain and a statue pees on him. In Castaway, he also pees into the ocean. In Saving Private Ryan, he tells this whole story about how he had this relationship with I forget what the story was, but it was about him urinating. Like, it's a thing that even Tom Hanks has acknowledged. He's like, I don't know why I do it. It's just a thing I do. Oh, and in Apollo 13, we get a long drawn out sequence of him peeing into a tube and evacuating it out into space. I'm sorry that I've just shattered your mind right now.
I love the idea of like, we're sitting together, we're writing the script. We think we're doing a great job, and we're thinking, we got to get Tom Hanks to play this character. So we got to get a pee scene.
I have another one. I have another one for you. Well, not with Tom Hanks, but pay attention to Brad Pitt. Every scene that Brad Pitt, every movie that Brad Pitt's in, he will be eating something very loudly while he's talking. And what's notable about that is that most actors don't eat in movies, but Brad Pitt is one of the only ones that do, and he eats a lot in his movies. Like, he'll eat a cheeseburger, and it's like usually finger food. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's two problems with eating in film. One, if you have to do multiple takes, you're going to be eating a lot. It's like, if I ate half a burger in front of you in the scene, and we had to do 10 takes to get that right, I ate 5 burgers. Yep. That's not a recipe for success when like your whole thing is having abs. The other problem is continuity, right? If we're rolling that scene back and like the first part was good, but I took one bite and it was like a big bite and jagged and there was like a pickle hanging. And then we go to the next one and there's like one little bite of burger left. What happened to the rest of the burger? There was like 3 seconds there. Your face is empty. What happened? Continuity. We got to start with the fresh burger, buddy. We're going all the way back.
That's brutal.
So actually, the ability to land, like, can we nail it on one try so I don't have to eat 20 White Castle? But then, Ash, towards your point, like finger food makes that a lot better because it's like, if it's just a handful of fries, like whatever, just give me a sack of fries. I'm gonna sit here. You just keep them crisp. You build a McDonald's right there off. I'm just gonna...
Yeah, I got one more actor thing for you, but then we got to get back on topic. Yeah. Bruce Willis, in all of his posters, he tilts his head like this and looks off to the right. Every single poster. Look it up. It will blow your mind. Every single poster. His head is tilted exactly this angle, and he looks off to the right.
Does he have something weird going on over
don't know
here
how
that
we're
he
gonna
doesn't
get
want
this in
people
show
to
notes.
see?
I don't know.
What's the Mitch Hedberg skit? It's like my sister thinks I'm weird, but I think she's weird because she has family pictures and everybody's looking over here like something very interesting was happening up and to the left.
Yep.
But my sister is cross-eyed. Anyway, okay. Link in the show notes.
Yeah. All right.
So off topic. So off topic.
So MacGuffins. All right.
Sometimes the MacGuffins are the stories we tell along the way. So we talk a little bit about like when does the world become safe, and we use some examples. I do want to highlight some interesting flavors of who wants it, and there's 3 major flavors I want to talk about, and then a little bit of nuance. And I think if you can land on one of these 3 things, settle the nuance, you've got good components to a story. For the MacGuffin, does the party already have it, and the party needs to protect it from someone else? Do bad folks have it? And if bad folks have it, do the bad folks know the party wants it? In other words, do you have the element of surprise or not? And what happens when that's ruined? So that's your classic heist. It basically we're setting up a heist. Do good folks have it, but bad folks want it, and so the party is going to take it first to protect it? So that's your, we're going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
I mean, that's still kind of a heist, isn't it? Like, isn't the difference
is
between a
a
heist and a
but
fetch quest just whether or not it's a crime?
How many people you kill along the way? But I think that's actually what makes the difference is if they're good folks, and if you can emphasize they're good folks, then ideally we're not going straight murder hobo to get to the object. We're actually taking steps to leave people alive, because at the end of the day, we want to pop up and be like, we were helping, we were protecting. You killed 20 guards. Well, they were in the way, the greater good and whatnot.
Here's the real dirty secret, Tyler. Most MacGuffins focused narratives are just heists. They're all like Lord of the Rings could be classified as an elaborate heist movie.
Could it? I mean, it's like
the
the
Italian
first
Job.
heist.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, it's still a heist. You're planting because like reverse heist is like planting something in a place rather than taking something from it. It's still a heist. Mario, the MacGuffin is Peach. Mario is performing a heist to get her out of Bowser's castle. Just saying.
Absolutely.
I'm with the brain blowers today.
100%. 100%. Don't boo him. He's right. Okay. And then a nuanced thing that I want to call out is there are going to be neutrals. So the example I gave a second ago of like, there are good people guarding the thing, but we're going to steal it to protect it. More generally, every town you go into, every mode of travel you take, you're going to run into neutrals. If they knew the situation, if they knew the party had the MacGuffin or were looking for the MacGuffin, are they more likely on the surface, like surface knowledge, to align with the party or to align with the other group? So beloved local religious leader wants the MacGuffin and you're in that village, we're in trouble, right? Like this is going to be hard and we can't let anybody know what we're doing. It changes the dimensions of the storytelling because now we need to sneak around, we need to hide, we can't ask for help. Local death cult wants the item, village is probably on our side. We could like tell everybody, let's get in the square, let's make an announcement, let's put guards on the walls, we're going to do what we can. You know, just deciding how that is going to play, logically thinking through like what is the story that I'm telling, is going to help you set up beats that the players can drive to themselves and can help you organize in your mind, how are you going to react if they decide to confide in the innkeeper? How are you going to react if somebody overhears what they're talking about in the tavern?
Yeah.
All right, folks. I want to challenge us. Can we 3 together build a MacGuffin quest?
Oh, Lord.
For folks at home, in the show notes, it says the gang makes a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
here,
Randall,
I got an idea. Why don't I bring up the legendary objects and then have you guys roll, and we'll make a MacGuffin out of that legendary object.
Sure. Okay.
What do you think?
Dice.
Or we could not do that. Whatever you guys want to do. I'm just thinking for time relevancy.
No, I support that. I'm looking at Tyler a little bit because Tyler got really excited about this. But
I love a random table. I love a random table. Yeah. I don't have dice within arm's reach. Shame on me. Like the one place in my house that I don't have dice within arm's reach.
I do. So Wing Lady in the chat proposed that the MacGuffin should be Sleep for Wing Lady. I feel like that's directly dedicated to the plot, though.
It's also Can we carry that? Sleeping pills?
We don't have to carry it. It could be an idea, I think.
Okay.
Well, that's It is like the nature of it's irrelevant though, because just in sleep
Okay, we're
is
gonna
listening to our podcast.
go by the artifacts. That's what I'm gonna say. So let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Are you rolling dice, Tyler?
I'm waiting for him to tell me how many artifacts there are, and I'll pick one at random.
Well, there's a lot, but let's just do 20. Roll a d20.
All right, Google, roll 1d20. 10.
The Orrery of the Wanderer.
Oh, I don't know what that one does.
That's actually from Acquisitions Incorporated. Let's do a different thing. I'll do one
11.
down from there because I don't want to get in trouble with Acquisitions Incorporated. Let's do Ring of Winter. That one's fun.
Okay.
What's it do?
Artist Simber has kept this item in his possession for over a century. The Ring of Winter is a golden band that resizes to fit snugly on the finger of its wearer. A thin layer of frost coats the outside of the ring, which normal heat can't melt. The ring feels ice cold to the touch and initially numbs the hand that wears it. But this cold ceases to be felt by one who is attuned to the ring. The Ring of Winter is a sentient item and tries to take control of any creature that wears it. If it succeeds, the ring compels its wearer to cause undue harm to everyone and everything around it, in a cold-hearted attempt to incur the wrath of enemies and bring the wearer's doom. So it is a chaotic evil item, obviously. It has an intelligence of 14, wisdom of 14, and a charisma of 17. As far as its powers, as long as you wear the ring, you don't age naturally. This effect is similar to suspended animation in that your age doesn't catch up to you once the ring is removed. The ring doesn't protect its wearer from magical, supernatural aging effects such as the horrifying visage of a ghost. You have cold immunity. There's magic in it. There are a bunch of spells you can cast. I'm not going to go through all of it, but yeah, like you can spend charges to cast like Bigby's Hand, Cone of Cold, Flesh to Stone, except it's Ice Storm, Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, Sleet Storm, Spike Growth, except the spikes are all icicles, and Wall of Ice.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
I got it. All right, Tyler, do you mind if I take a swing?
Please go.
Oh, it has a thing called Destroying the Ring. This might be important for us. So the ring is nigh indestructible, resisting even the most intense magical heat. If, however, it is placed on the finger of the powerful archfey known as the Summer Queen, the ring melts away and is destroyed forever.
Cool.
That's a cool campaign right there.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 parties of Who, and I do not actually care which group is the PC party and which group is the NPC party.
Okay.
There are 3 nations that meet at kind of at a point, and they've been, battling for millennia. 2 of the nations are about to merge kingdoms because a young prince will be marrying a young princess.
Ooh.
And the 3rd kingdom puts together a group to run a reverse heist to swap the wedding band with the Ring of Winter, with the hopes that the princess will wear the ring, be compelled to wear the ring as a sign of like love and affection for the marriage, and will wreak havoc and destroy both royal courts, setting both countries into absolute chaos, allowing the 3rd country to finally take charge. The 2nd group doesn't know that that's the plan, but knows that that country, their spies are getting word that they have this big secret that they think is going to help them conquer the world, and we have to get this ring before they do something with it. So if you want to run the heist, you run the heist, and just you have people trying to foil you, but they don't actually know what you're doing. And if you want to run the other side of it with the PCs, again, you don't telegraph what they're planning on doing. You just let like, oh yeah, the weddings are happening in the background. It's a rumor. And then you wind up in the city. It's like, oh, why are we in this city? And then finally, right before you conquer it, maybe the reveal comes that this was their plot. Like maybe you have to run into the wedding ceremony and be like, no, you can't have the ring. I object. Like,
I like that. And I have a way that we can build on that. So what I think is cool, and one of the things that Lord of the Rings did really well was it took a seemingly innocuous magic item from The Hobbit. Like it was just a cool ring that Bilbo found and made it into a world-ending artifact. So we can keep the whole like political plot, And I think maybe the enemies don't really know what it is that they have in their hands, like how powerful it is. They think it's a ring that'll turn a person into a psycho. But your players eventually get their hands on this ring and they take it to their wizard friend. Their wizard friend's like, oh no, this is really bad. This ring belongs to the king of the court of winter. And if he finds out that it was stolen from his court, he will come into our realm, take it from us, and turn our realm into his realm, which is just eternal winter. So that's not cool. So we need to figure out a way to destroy this ring, aka let's go to the Feywild and find the Fey Queen. And that takes like a seemingly innocuous object and turns it into a very important MacGuffin. And I think that's a cool like twist that you can put on your players.
I like that.
I really want to run the session, the Three Kingdoms wedding, where the party and a bunch of antagonist NPCs are just like all kinds of subterfuge, just switching rings. Like no one knows which ring is real. There's decoys in the mix. Everyone's trying to figure it out and trying to get their ring in, like on the bride's finger. You just have wacky, cartoonish hijinks this entire time. And meanwhile, there's a B plot. Somebody has to convince the Queen of Summer to marry them so that they can propose with the correct ring, so she'll put it on and destroy it. All of this at once.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
No, we could even bookend it. Like the first quest is stealing the ring preventing the ring gain on the finger of a person at a wedding. And the end point is trying to sneakily swap in the ring of the Queen of Summer's wedding so that she puts it on. That's great.
I love that. Yes.
I love that. That is brilliant.
This is beautiful, and we're done. The story is complete. Somebody should write this down. I want to add, I'm not adding to the story, I'm adding just one little flavor, one little note. Imagine the poor bard that the wizard polymorphs to be a dog to carry the ring down the aisle.
Love it. Love it. Love
it. I don't know. It sounds like a good time to me.
All right. We have a question of the week this week. This week, our question of the week comes to us from, what's your biggest DM crutch? Fallback monsters, adventure hooks, settings. This question comes to us from I am JP Roy on Twitter.
Boy, I very briefly thought that's a DM crush, and I'm like, I don't think that's what that said earlier. But crutch makes much more sense.
I mean, I could list out some people right now if you want me to have DM crushes.
Let's not get that weird.
That's an easy list for me. That's a tough one, though. Why don't you answer first, Randall? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I definitely got mine. I'm not as good at them. I'm going to be very clear. I don't think I'm as good at them. I like doing Robin Williams-esque like rants. Just go, like, give me a jumping off point and I will go. And I like the party that I have, the players I have right now, they like to laugh. They enjoy a good joke. Not to say they don't take things seriously, but they'll always laugh.
Yeah.
And so if I'm trying to spice something up, if I'm really trying to get everybody engaged, I tend to lean towards the funny. And I think a lot of times in very serious campaigns, I hope that I do a reasonable job of keeping things serious when things need to be serious. But in what would otherwise be a very serious setting, I still just go for a laugh. Right. I think this person's looking for more like the mechanical things or like the set pieces that you bring with you. But I'll say the biggest thing that I am conscious of as a DM is that if I'm worried a session isn't going well, more than actually making the mechanics good or making the story good, I just want to get you to chuckle.
There's nothing wrong with that.
For me, I would say, my DM crutches aren't really mechanical. They're more of like story and like feeling. I have a tendency to run grimdark games. That's definitely a crutch that I could work on. I'm hesitant to announce like a peek behind the curtain, especially since I have players who listen to this podcast. But I will say sometimes when I am stumped for ideas, I will just pull side quests from video games that I like and I think are cool and adapt them for my world. So that's definitely a crutch of mine.
I really like, I believe the term is a walled canyon. Like if I need to run like a simple, reasonably self-contained story, which is a lot of what I run usually because I do a lot of one-shots, I will very frequently place the story like you're on a flying city or like you're in a dungeon with one way in and one way out. And it's just like, no, I'm going to make it abundantly clear. This is not a sandbox. You're not going to wander off on me. The plot is all here. Don't mess this up. I've built you this wonderful toy to play with. Please just look at the toy and play with the toy. Works most of the time.
Do you do wall of forced monologue?
Only when it's really, really funny. Otherwise, like, yeah, if you want to stab me mid monologue, sure.
Yeah.
Randall,
the Sword Lord and his Gourd Horde.
Exactly, yeah. Ordboard the Sword Lord and his Magic Gourd Horde. The first adventure I ever ran for Randall. I reran it for him and his kids again, like 5-6 years later. They didn't remember any of the adventure except the conclusion, and they were so excited when they got to the final boss. But yeah, like, it's a dungeon that I put on a flying island that you reach from another flying island. So it's like, here's the walls. You're going to stay inside them. The adventure is over there.
No, okay. The way he's describing it, I know it sounds like, oh, like that's a no. It was really like magical and like it was a lot of fun. The premise was basically, don't ask how, the island flies on gold. Yeah. Other islands float by.
You should just cut out the middleman and have your settings take place in Xenoblade 2. Which is just takes place on the backs of flying whales. So yeah, and then what's below the clouds? Nobody knows. Death.
Probably.
Yeah.
All hail the Leisure Illuminati. I'm Randall James. You'll find me at amateurjack.com and on Twitter and Instagram at jackamateur.
I'm Tyler Campsha. You'll find me on. You'll find me dying. Excuse me. I'm Tyler Campstra. You'll find me on RPGBOT.net, Facebook, Twitter, RPGBOT.Net, and most other socials as RPGBot.
And I'm Ash Eli. You can follow me on Twitter at Graven Ashes or on YouTube at Ashraven Media. If you want to hire me to run one of your games for you or join one of my existing games, look for me on startplaying.games. A link in the show notes.
If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcast and rate us on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. It's a quick, free way to support the podcast and helps us to reach new listeners. You'll find links in the show notes. You'll find affiliate links for source books and other materials linked in the show notes, as well as on RPGBOT.net. Following these links helps us to make the show happen every week. If your question should be the question of the week next week, please email podcast@RPGBOT.net or message us on Twitter at RPGBOT.Net. Please also consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll find all kinds of great rewards. At any tier, you'll get early access to RPGBOT content and polls for future content. At our $3 tiers, you'll enjoy your choice of ad-free podcast episodes or ad-free access to RPGBOT.net. At our $5 tiers and above, you'll get both, plus access to the RPGBOT.Discord. You'll find us at patreon.com/RPGBOT.
Oh, Stubbins, you like the ASMR, huh? Well, here's some more for you.
Wait, no. Isn't the mouth sounds thing a different thing? Isn't there worse acronym for that? I don't know. I've never looked into it, Probably. But I hate it.
Misophonia, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Wing Lady.
Thank you, Wing Lady.
I don't think
I'm with Stub. We all agree to never do that again. Right?
No, yeah, we agree. We're agreed.
Like
I do want to say that this
I'll lean in close and do this. This is fine all day long.
Yeah. Just
hey guys.
No mouth noise.
Is mayonnaise a MacGuffin?